strategist dedicated to helping individuals and organizations reaching to their full potential. Currently pursuing PhD in business organization in Autonomous University of Madrid, Spain. Her research focuses on Generation Z's leadership preferences, especially in Spain. With the MBA in IE Business School and extensive uh, international experience, she has guided professionals and students worldwide through her company, Improve and Coach. Well, Lorena is known for blending academic insight with practical strategies in leadership, talent management, and organization behavior. A respected speaker and thought leader, she champions ethical, inclusive, and adaptive leadership in today's dynamic business landscape. Very impressive, Lorena Martinez, as you have a PhD, you have excelled in the studies of your business management. We would like to know your novel approaches for not only with respect to the Spain, but on a global perspective. The stage is all yours, Lorena. Looking
Thank
forward
you
for your
very,
fabulous talk.
thank you very much for an amazing presentation. Let me share my screen and let's start. Are you able to see my screen? Yes, there we go. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending this amazing conference and for being here with me today during this talk. Let me start with a simple image. Imagine you're sitting across the table from one of your newest hires, bright eyes, impressive CV, and suddenly they ask you, "Can you tell me about how my work here will make a difference?" That question, simple, disarming, captures the very essence of the leadership challenge we face today. It's not just a question, it's a mirror, a call to redefine how we connect, how we lead, and how we give meaning to everyday work. It's not a generational whim, it's a cultural shift, and it's already here. For decades, we spoke about retention. Retention was enough. Today, it's obsolete. Gen Z doesn't want to be kept. They want to be engaged, challenged, and seen. The difference? Retention, it's about the fear of loss. Engagement, it's about a shared purpose. And here's the paradox. The more we try to keep them with perks and policies, the more we lose them. They're not looking for ping pong tables. They're looking for the truth. We must stop asking, how do we keep them? And start asking, how do we grow with them? Because here's what we often forget. Keeping someone physically present is not the same as keeping them emotionally connected. Gen Z may show up on a Monday morning, but if they don't feel part of something meaningful, they will be already halfway out of the door. Engagement, for them, it's not a checkbox, it's a pulse. It's a daily signal that says, you matter here. It's about being invited into the conversation, not just assign a task. It's about having a say, not just a seat. And when we engage them, when we truly engage them, we discover something remarkable. They don't just perform better, they care more, they stay longer, they grow faster. Because engagement is not a strategy to retain talent, it's a strategy to unlock it. Allow me to bring you briefly into my own story. Years ago, I worked with brilliant MBAs. They had the knowledge, the ambition, but often something was missing. They didn't need more training. They needed something far more subtle. They needed a leadership that truly understood them. That realization drove my doctoral research, countless interviews, and hours with young professionals who taught me this. They don't reject leadership, they reject bad leadership. They reject being treated as a number. And most importantly, they taught me that good leadership today looks less like authority and more like a partnership. So let's take a look to the past. Yesterday, everything was about security, hierarchy, long life careers. But today it's about fluidity, flexibility, and personal meaning. It's not that Gen Z doesn't want to work. They want to work differently. In their world, balance is not negotiable. They are the first generation to openly say, my mental health matters as much as my promotion. They seek not just succeed, but to thrive. And thriving for them means freedom, connection, and contribution. The workplace for them, it's not just a place to earn, it's a place to become. It's not a rebellion, it's evolution. Gen Z do not reject, it's not rejecting the workplace. They are redefining it. They are asking, why should I invest the best of myself in a place that doesn't invest in who I am? Where previous generations tolerated rigidity, this one seeks resonance. Where others endure in silence, Gen Z speaks up, and not just for themselves, but for the culture that they want to build. And this shift, it's not a threat, it's an invitation to rethink leadership, to humanize management, and to design workplace where people do not have to choose between achievement and authority. They are telling us with their choices, their exit, and their courage that success without well-being, it's not success at all. If we listen, we'll realize they're not just pushing us away, they are pulling us forward. So, who are they? They're digital natives, born scrolling, fluent in technology, like we are in languages. Global by nature, they collaborate across continents, often before breakfast. They are purpose seekers. They crave meaning like air, executives of empty words. They can stop out an authenticity in seconds, courageous enough to walk away if they don't feel seen. They are both pragmatic and idealistic. But above all, they carry an incredible potential for impact if we learn how to lead them. They are not waiting for us to catch up. They are inviting us to evolve. They are the first generation raised in a world of constant noise, yet they value silence when it's honest. They've grown up with information at their fingertips, but they crave wisdom. They trust influencers, but only the ones who are real. They follow leaders, the ones that are human. They are allergic to facade and fiercely loyal to authenticity. You'll find them building startups in their dorm rooms, volunteering on weekends, questioning job offers from companies whose values don't align. They don't just ask what they'll do. They're asking why should they do it and who they will become in the process. And while some call them impatient, I see urgency. While some say they are entitled, I see a generation that refuses to settle. Because they don't just want a career, they want a course. And they are asking us not for perfection, but for coherence. And yet, many organizations still fall into this trap. Control instead of trust, supervision instead of coaching, assumptions instead of conversations. We don't lose Gen Z because they lack loyalty. We lose them because we fail to give them a reason to stay. Because we still treat leadership as a script and they expect a dialogue. When leadership is rigid, they disconnect. When leadership listens, they bloom. We must unlearn before we can truly lead. Let's make this very clear. They're not hard to lead. Gen Z are different to lead. They need purpose, connection with their daily work, to something meaningful. Autonomy. Let them own part of the journey. Feedback. Real, frequent, actionable. Recognition. Not just rewards, but visibility. Growth, meaning continuous learning. Well-being, psychological safety above all. And these are not just preferences, they are boundaries. When respected, they give us the best. When ignored, they give us their goodbyes. It's not a demand list, it's a leadership opportunity. Think of it this way. What they want, it's not luxury, it's clarity, not comfort, again, coherence. They want to know what we're building here. Does it matter? Will I be seen in the process? When they ask for purpose, they're not just being idealistic. They are being responsible with their time. When they ask for autonomy, it's not just about ego, it's about accountability. When they ask for feedback, it's not about approval, it's about growth. And when they ask for psychological safety, it's not a trend, it's a condition for courage. Each of these elements is our signal, a test to whether the leader in front of them is willing to meet them where they are and walk with them where they are going. The choice is ours. Do we dismiss these needs as too much, or do we recognize them as exactly what leadership has been missing? Here is where mindful leadership makes the difference. I often say that leadership today is not about knowing all the answers. It's about creating the space where answers can emerge. Mindful leaders, they deeply listen, they respond intentionally, balance ambitions with humanity, they cultivate presence, they pause before reacting, they create climates where people feel safe to speak, to try, and to even fail. In a world addicted to speed, they choose depth. And in doing so, they make room for others to shine. Throughout this conference, we've heard about powerful insights about emotional intelligence, active listening, and the neuroscience of attention. These conversations have all pointed in the same direction. Presence is power. Mindful leadership is not just a trend, it's a necessity. And it starts with the leader's capacity to stop performing and start connecting. Mindful leaders are not defined by how much they know, but by how much they notice. They create a space instead of filling it. They ask better questions instead of giving faster answers. In a noisy world, they become anchors. And when young professionals meet these leaders, a leader who is present, who's human and intentional, they don't just follow, they flourish. Mindful leadership, it's not soft. It's strong enough to slow down and listen. And that might just be the most radical thing a leader can do today. And what happens when you give Gen Z autonomy? In one of my coaching sessions, a young manager told me, when my boss let me design the solution and didn't micromanage me, I gave him my best. And I felt proud. Ownership is engagement. When we co-create, we don't just empower, we activate. And when we activate, we connect them to purpose. Let them build, let them participate. let them matter. Autonomy doesn't mean stepping back. It means stepping aside just enough to let someone step in. It's not about giving up control. It's about sharing responsibility. When we co-create, we say your perspective matters. Your fingerprint belongs on the solution. And this is how we build trust, not in grand speeches, but in daily decisions that say, I see what you're capable of, and I'm not going to stand in your way. And here's the transformation. When Gen Z feels ownership, they don't just comply, they commit. They don't just deliver, they elevate. Because autonomy is not just about doing whatever you want. It's about being trusted to do what matters. And that trust is what makes them stay. Many leaders feel fear for feedback conversations, but Gen Z doesn't fear feedback. They fear silence. They want fast, specific, two-way feedback, recognition that acknowledge effort, not just results. Honest conversations, even when they are hard. They don't need to be perfect. They need you to be present. Feedback to them, it's oxygen. Give it regularly, make it meaningful, and make it mutual. Because when feedback flows, so that trust. Silence is not neutral, it's information. And in many organizations, silence might be interpreted as indifference. But Gen Z was raised in a culture of instant feedback, from likes and comments to real-time responses. But that's not about ego, it's about rhythm. And they are used to knowing where they stand and how they're doing, not once a year, all the time. So when we go quiet as leaders, they don't think everything's just fine. They wonder, did I do something wrong? Does it even matter? And let's be honest, giving feedback can feel uncomfortable, but not giving it is unfair. They don't expect constant praise. They expect clarity. And recognition is not about applause. It's about being seen. A simple I notice can go further than a formal bonus. Because when people feel invisible, they disconnect. When they feel valued, they rise. Feedback is not a moment, it's a habit. And in the hands of a conscious leader, it becomes one of the most human tools we have. The model is shifting from boss to coach, from giving instructions to asking questions, from monitoring to partnership. One Gen Z told me on one of our meetings that they don't need someone who walks ahead of me. I need someone who walks beside me. And that is leadership today. It's not about leading the charge. It's about walking the path together. Coaching is not a tool. It's a mindset. If I had to put years of research into one single equation, this would be it. Without purpose, none of these techniques sustain engagement. With purpose, everything amplifies. It's not magic, it's alignment. And when leaders embody this equation, they stop managing and start inspiring. Let's pause here for a second, because this isn't just a formula, it's a leadership mindset. Each of these elements play a role, but purpose is a multiplier. It's what gives them weight to our words, depth to our culture, and direction to our people. Mindfulness keeps us grounded. It allows us to lead from presence, not just pressure. Co-creation makes leadership a shared process. It turns teams into collaborators, not just executors. Feedback ensures that the connection will stay alive. It's the rhythm of growth, the heartbeat of trust. But without purpose, even the best intentions feel empty, because purpose is not just what they why we want to do this. It's why it should matter to me. Purpose doesn't have to be grand or world changing. It has to be real. It has to answer the question Gen Z is constantly asking, even if they never said it out loud. What that these have to do with who I want to become. When leaders lead with that equation, with presence, collaboration, honesty, and meaning, they don't just lead teams, they're shaping legacies. Let me bring you Clara. Clara was a brilliant young hire, smart, eager, but a little bit anxious. Her first manager wanted full control, tasks, deadlines. No boys. She almost quit. A new leader came in. The leader sat with her, asked her about her goals, gave her a space, offered feedback in a regular basis. Months later, Clara was not only thriving, but she was leading her own project team. Her story is not unique. I've heard versions of Clara's story across countries, industries, and sectors. Clara is not an exception. Clara is the future, if we choose to lead it well. So, the real question is simple. Are we willing to lead differently? If we want to engage the next generation, we must be mindful, co-create, offer real feedback, and anchor everything with purpose. Gen Z doesn't fear hard work. They fear meaningless work. They're not asking us to lower expectations. They're asking us to raise consciousness. The challenge, it's not to motivate them. It's to meet them. This is the invitation, not to redesign our job descriptions, but to redefine our leadership presence. Not to do more, but to do it with purpose, more consciously. They are not waiting for the perfect leader. They are waiting for a human one, someone who listens, someone who learns, someone who leads not from ego, but from intention. If we keep applying yesterday's tools to today's generation, we'll keep missing their potential. But if we choose to adapt, to really see them, hear them, and grow with them, they will show up with more than what we've ever imagined. Because Gen Z doesn't want a boss. They want a guide. They want a reason. They want leadership that breathes purpose, not just policies. So the real question isn't, can they change for us? The real question is, are we brave enough to change for them? And that is the core of today's leadership: connection, trust, shared humanity. The leaders who thrive tomorrow are those who already lead differently today. Those who understand that influence is no longer vertical, it's relational. Power for Kate, presence stays. Lead with connection, and you will never lead alone. Thank you all for walking this journey with me today. I hope these reflections didn't just bring information, but describe something deeper, a question, a challenge, or maybe even a commitment. Because if there's something I've learned from working with this new generation, is that they don't want leaders with all the answers. They want leaders who are still willing to ask better questions. So I love to hear yours. Let's continue with this conversation together. Do you have any questions? Thank you very much.
Yeah, very nice for Gen Z leadership approaches.
Oh, thank you.
Definitely the most motivates. Motivate. I think one of the question from Eva Brun is like, what motivates the Gen Z the most in the workplace? Because this is very important question for us, for the especially the Gen A, the youngsters, the young generations. They need this answer because
What motivates them the most?
yeah,
Some someone that's honest, someone that aligns their objectives to what the company or the project is doing, and someone who's able to involve them.
involved. Yeah,
Exactly.
the
So
focus.
that it's not about, because everything goes back to engagement. We need to engage them, and to engage someone in a task, first you need to align
Yeah,
your
yeah,
objectives to theirs. Then you need to anchor that into
yeah,
a little long term. And as I was saying, they fear silence. Feedback once a year, it's no longer valid. They need nearly a daily feedback. So do we in the relationship that most mean to us, right?
yeah,
We don't just ask our partner once a year, hey, how we're doing. Do you feel loved, right? So why do we do that with our employees, with our
mm,
followers? We need to engage to build relationship based on trust,
yeah,
and
yeah,
we need to let our ego aside.
yeah. True, very true. Very true, Lorena. That's really a nice present. We do have some of the questions. We will send it to you. Thank you so much,
Yes,
Lorena.
feel free.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been an
Namaste.
honor.
Namaste.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.